Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Post-Conference Presser for Anfield Index. It's ahead of the big one, isn't it? Tomorrow, royalty will collide. Real Madrid will come to Anfield to face Liverpool, a team that, well, both teams have won the big trophy a lot of times. And honestly, I've done many of these shows, post-conference presser. You know who my name is, Dave Davis, coming to you from a pretty dark and dismal Edinburgh. But just forget all that for a second. This was maybe the most entertaining and brilliant press conference I have seen in many moons. And it's not about comparing a previous manager with this head coach or anything like that. But Andy Robertson and Arne Slot were on brilliant form today. They really were, ladies and gents. They absolutely knocked every question pretty much out the park. There were some brilliant answers. There were some quotes that you'll be hearing repeated as well. And I'm going to be honest, it sounds like I'm self-deprecating here, but I'm probably not even going to be able to do it the exact justice I want to do on this show. So if I was to give you a tip, if you do have time this evening or before the Real Madrid game, watch the press conference, watch Robbo's Q&As, watch Arne Slot's Q&As. They were absolutely brilliant today. No two ways about it. So as the normal format, we'll go through the questions and answers that Andy Robbo and Arne Slot gave. We'll take a little look back to Southampton. We'll talk about the clues from that one. We'll talk about Real Madrid threats, and Christ, there's a fair few of them in this regard still, despite an injury crisis, despite what anyone says. We'll talk about the injury situation, and then we will have a look at what I think the lineup will be, and then the score predictions. And salute to you there as well, Mohammed. So let's get into it, ladies and gents. Honestly, there's so much info from these Q&As. I've almost had to sort of condense it down, the questions and answers. So let's get into Robbo's first of all. And little tip for Liverpool FC TV, hit the freaking record button or release the sort of embargo before the first question comes out from Video Connors. So right at the end of a question, Robbo, but all I got at the last bit, and I watched it back a few times, he said, we know there's a long way to go in both competitions. And, you know, it's not time to get carried away. Absolutely, it's not, Robbo. Absolutely spot on with everything you were saying there. Then he got asked the Mo Salah question, which, as Robbo said, he thought that would be the first question that he got asked. So what did he say? He said, for us as players, nothing we can really get involved in. If you look at Mo today, if you look at Mo yesterday, he's the ultimate professional. In fairness, that actually goes for all three of them. Every one of them is so focused on the next game and training and preparing properly. They've been leaders this year. That's the way they've done it. For us in the changing room, if they can do that, then we can do that. And we can't get distracted by anything else. We're all just excited for the game tomorrow night. A brilliant answer. I think it shows the respect that Robbo has for Mo as a player. You saw that on the round table interview that they both did as well. But everything, as he said, he's seeing Mo yesterday. I love that quote. Mo yesterday, Mo today. The ultimate professional. No two ways about it at all. And bugger me, let's be honest, people. If this is Mo Salah being distracted by it, what's his form going to be like if he is fully focused on it? I mean, and I'll come to what Arne Slot said about that a little bit later. Maybe, just maybe, might be wrong, but it is firing him a little bit. Who knows? But yeah, absolutely spot on, Robbo, with that question as well. He was also asked about what have you seen in the group this season? Because as the journalist, the question revolved around, quite rightly, Robbo has that experience. He's done it, won it all type of thing. So what did he say? He said, I think what we've shown is we can win football matches in this group. I also think there's a long way to go. There's a few of us who've got the experience of both, and you need a little bit of consistency along the way and a lot of luck in terms of injuries and form. So far, we've had that. And when we've not been at our best, we've found that. There's still a lot of football. You have to keep doing that and build that momentum. And I think that's what we've been good at so far. We've got big games to come. And we can continue this, then we can strengthen our position. Like that quote as well. You've seen this team, and almost like the other day, even when they're not at their best, they get results, don't they? We saw it Southampton away, which we'll touch upon. We saw it Chelsea at home. This team can control a game, it can fight, it can scrap, and it can do the full range. It can play beautiful football. We've seen all that. The only thing I don't probably quite agree on with Robbo, and I have to be honest about this, because I think this feeds into a nonsense narrative a little bit. But lucky, and he said you need to have a bit of luck in terms of injuries and form. I don't think, because people are desperate to pounce on this, aren't they? Let's be honest, Reds, that we've had no real injuries. I mean, I heard Jim Knapp's nonsense the other night, saying that Liverpool might get that like Arsenal and City have. Is everyone just ignoring what's happened to Jota, Alisson, Trent? Even Conor Bradley was injured till recently. Harvey Elliott out for all this season. The Chiesa issues. It does seem like it just gets completely forgotten, doesn't it? But what can you do in all that? So thought he was right. But yeah, the injuries, let's not pretend we've not had them as well. And then maybe I could have predicted this one because of who we're facing, the nature of the game, and all the rumours that are going around. Trent, he was asked a question by a Spanish journalist about Trent. Why could that be? Let us all think, How about that? He said, Trent is one of the closest friends in the training room, and we've been on the journey together. He's a fantastic footballer and a fantastic person. The quality speaks for itself. He's one of, if not the best right back in the world. He shows that year on year. And people forget he's still quite young. He's probably getting a bit older, but he's old enough to get even better. We've grown together in the fullback role, and we've that. Again, a brilliant answer. We know full well why a Spanish journalist was asking about Trent, and we know full well how that is going to get clipped, extrapolated, shall we say, in Spain in that regard. But it was still good to hear Robbo. And everything you saw of Robbo, you can tell why he is a leader and captain of his country. It sometimes almost seemed like a fun character, but he has got a real, I don't know what you call it, a gravitas to the way he speaks. You do feel a connection, you feel that he's really down to earth. And in this one, he came across absolutely brilliantly. So big kudos to Robbo for that. And we have to think, with the injury news we got earlier in the day, Paul Joyce and others reported Kostas Tsimikas, bad news, has twisted that ankle, hasn't he? So he's going to be out for an unknown period. It's important we say that. We don't know how long. It's not been the best of season to Robbo. And I've seen some interesting quotes on Robbo today. People saying that, people are going too hard on him. And I think we've got to be able to analyse certain things, people. It's not been a good season for Robbo. We had a good game against Aston Villa, the other, but all in all, it's not been the best season. When you think of games like Ipswich on the opening day, Arsenal and Saka who got the better of him. So it has been really mixed, but we are going to need him more than ever, aren't we? So it will be interesting to see exactly what happens in that game. However, let's move to the pièce de résistance. Arne Slot, what a press conference, by the way. And he got it straight out the gate, didn't he? Asked by Video Connor about Mo Salah and the situation. I'm going to say it, but I would encourage you so much to watch this press conference. It's absolutely brilliant. There's no two ways about it. He said, people tell me about this, but I don't share this over here. The only thing I can say is if I look up at what I see, Mo is more in than out. So you remember Marcelo said he was more out than in, and I love the way he finished it. That quote I can give you. Absolutely brilliant answer. He launched a robust defence, and it came up later of Mo Salah, so let me give you that at the same time as well. Said, was there any, and he was asked later about, was there any fear about how he would continue, as almost as a follow-up? He said, yeah, definitely. We want his numbers to be where they are at the moment because those are the numbers Mo has always had. That's the positive thing. I don't think he's distracted at all. I haven't seen that after the United game where he had some comments. I haven't seen that after a post you told me about, because it was Paul Joyce that was asking the question. He just kept on scoring. I didn't see anything today. He's fully focused on tomorrow. And these are the kind of things which the media and fans can talk about, which is completely normal. But if you'd been at the AXA today, I don't think any player talked about it. The players are focused on the short term, which is Real Madrid and Manchester City. By the time Mo's contract is extended, I don't think any player will have talked about it. I don't think they're a distraction for him and the players, and they're definitely not a distraction for me. Not one time in my mind did I start to think about the contract with Mo. What an answer. And completely right and factual. He talked about it after United. Look at how he played in that game. Look at the run he's gone on since. This is the second time, and look how well he's playing. And I see people will talk about, oh, he's choosing it, and it is right. He doesn't go into the mix zone. He doesn't give interviews very often, but just absolutely brilliant, this Slot Q&A. It really, really was. And I think he's right. And I love the fact he is saying there's not one bit of me is distracted by this at all. It is full focus on Madrid and all the games at the moment. And that was the next question that he was asked naturally. He was asked about Real Madrid. He said, it's a big game. I think Real Madrid and Manchester City dominated Europe and the league for a few years now. Combined with Liverpool, as we're always up there competing with these two clubs. It's a special week for us, especially because we play 2 times at home. But if this week is done, then there's another big week coming, which he's right the way he says this, with Newcastle away and a big smile and a Merseyside derby. If you're Liverpool, you always play big games. These two are special because these clubs have dominated the league in Europe for so many years recently. It's such a special week to play. And it is. These are the weeks that we live for. We adore as Liverpool. I've seen almost some try and play down that, yeah, but we're in a good position in Europe. It's still Real Madrid. It's still European royalty versus European royalty. It's still an unbelievable occasion under the lights at Anfield, which I'm going to, and I genuinely can't wait for. And everyone there is blessed to be there. Everyone watching will be excited. So there's so much to like about that. And he rightly billed it in terms of City. We think a lot of things about Manchester City, don't get me wrong, but they have been quite dominant, like Real Madrid in Europe in the last few years. So you can understand why he said that. And I just think he got so many things today, right? And that was another one. The next thing you got absolutely spot on, people. And feel free to drop a like, feel free to drop a comment, see what you think so far about what I've said. Or, you're feeling that popularity over here, and they referenced the Christmas song, which was brilliant. He said, well, I think I'm popular in Holland, but only in Rotterdam. The results have been good, and the results are always done by the players. If they have good results, it's good for the players, it's good for the press officer, and he pointed to Tony Barrett next to him, and everyone who works at the club. We know how much effort we have to put in to win these games. As a result of that, players are popular, and maybe a manager is popular because of that. Again, I think he got it absolutely spot on. It could easily be that he could, I don't know, you call it revel in it or absorb some of that. Literally, he was absolutely brilliant in the way he answered this, but he gives the credit to the players. Very much keen to not be a part of it and downplay it a little bit. So massive credit to him there. If you bear with me for a sec, I'm just going to literally reconnect my stream because I think it's just dipping a sec. 1 second, people. I am hoping, people, my booster signal is kept in. So if you kept with me, thank you very much there. And just to see a comment come in, Red Armchair Supporter, I missed the start. What was shocking? Absolutely nothing at all. As I said so far, brilliant from Slot, brilliant from Robbo, and a few other things just to call out. Big shout out again to Mo Stewart, ladies and gents. He asked us the best questions. They're well researched. They've got great data. And that is not lost on Arne Slot one little bit. So he said there, he goes, you've told me so many things so many times. Your questions almost feel like an advert to replace me in the future, and your data is enormous. I wasn't aware of the fact that we've played them so many times. We were, if I'm correct, 2-0 up, and I used that to my team of Feyenoord as an example of, even though Real Madrid are 2-0 down, there was no one who expected that game to be 5-2 for them. They can also take the ball and dominate you from the start. And one of the reasons is they have one of the best managers and the best teams. Yeah, I was at that game that season, and you think that 2-0 when Darwin kind of flicks it in with that cheeky back heel, and we were just absolutely buzzing, and all of a sudden there was a quick second from Salah, and it was all brilliant. And then Alisson gets closed down. And just before you know it, 5-2, and we were battered. Let's not pretend it. We were battered beyond all recognition. The reason, and I'll come to Real Madrid later, but the reason I wanted to sort of factor this in early, Real Madrid are a sensational team, despite what people will tell you about recent form, getting beat at home by Barcelona. And people will point to things, and I understand this, like Vinicius Jr.'s not travelling. That's a massive blow for them. They'll also look at Tchouaméni, although he probably like more on Merseyside maybe than Madrid. Who knows? There's a few injuries at the back as well. They've not had a good time that way. But as Arne Slot said, he's not diminishing them one little bit. This is European royalty. They know how to get the job done. So we've got to be on it from the start. He was asked as well by Lewis Steele at Daily Mail. So big shout out to Lewis saying, is there an update on Trent and the other injuries? He said, it's funny you talk about our injuries because most people only talk about the injuries Real Madrid have, or if you're Jamie Redknapp, the injuries that all the other teams have. He said, this is the full rundown. Trent is in the squad, but he won't be available to start. So maybe he can make a few minutes, but only if it's really necessary, but he won't start. Federico isn't in the squad yet. He's training with us, but not the whole session, one or two parts. Harvey Elliott is back with the team, but he hasn't played for a long time. So, of course, he's not ready to start. Alisson's not there yet. Jota's not there yet. Costas is not there yet. So it's quite a list. I mean, we talked about Costas, and we have to have a real fingers crossed for that one. No two ways about it. Trent returning. Let's not pretend that is an absolutely brilliant news. And feel free to like and comment what you think about the injury situation. Trent, I'm quite happy if he doesn't play a single minute on this. If he gets a few minutes at the end, that's absolutely fine. It's all about that Manchester City game, really, isn't it, for Trent? And I know I'm jumping ahead, but as long as he's fit for that, we'll take it. We've got Connor Bradley. We've got Joe Gomez, who can cover both fullbacks as well. So in terms of the injury situation, I do see it as quite a good thing. Maybe I'm just being a bit greedy here. I would have liked to have seen Alisson in the training pics. I don't know if anyone clocked on that, and Jota as well. They were both not in the training group. So it feels almost not impossible. That's wrong, but there's high odds that either of them will be available for Real Madrid. So we can't be too greedy in terms of Trent's back. We'd have taken that all day long. And as long as he's there for Manchester City, I know that's jumping ahead. We've got to be happy with it. And the final answer and the final question that Arne Slot was asked was around Jamie Carragher and his comments that he made about his disappointment in Mo Salah, and does he feel it could develop into a distraction, which he kind of answered a little bit. But this was the final sweep for 6, knocking it through the covers, no doubts about it at all. He said, I focus a bit more about what else he said. He said he was one of the 5 best Liverpool players ever, and I agree with him. We've had so many great players at this club. I don't think it distracts Mo at all. I actually think it maybe brings the best out of him if you look at his performances to now. I talked to Mo about what I expect from him, and he's in a good place at the moment. I'm not distracted at all by his comments, and I don't feel his teammates are. And it's nice that we have a story in the media and you guys have some work to do. If anything to do with Mo Salah is distracting or worrying Arne Slot at all, he's doing an unbelievable job of disguising it. I just thought it was a brilliant answer. And I loved the fact that he clearly made reference that he's seen that Carragher interview. And actually, almost, well, you journos pulled from it what you want. I pulled that he's one of the 5 best ever players. There's a lovely bit of praise there, quite rightly, for Mo Salah at the moment as well. You can tell the sort of, affection's maybe the wrong word, but the massive appreciation between two parties. And I don't think that does any harm in the current circumstances at the moment at all either. And he's right. Maybe, just maybe, it is fueling Mo. And the reason I say that is, if you think of last time we had this contract situation, he was banging in goals and getting in assists at that time galore, wasn't he? Doing the same. No one knows for definite what's going to happen long term. However, I think he absolutely nailed it on this one. So massive, I don't know, round of applause, you'd almost say, to Arne Slot. A massive well done. But yeah, if you haven't watched it, I would encourage you so strongly, go back, watch Robbo's Q&A, watch Arne Slot's Q&A. They were absolutely brilliant. Genuinely, I mean that. One of the best. Memory in short term escapes me, but I can't think of a better press conference recently. That is just being honest. So move as we do as normal, ladies and gents, to the last game, Southampton. Bit nervy, wasn't it? 3-2. I mean, yeah, we gave away a couple of goals, which weren't the best. It was not the best performance, but it did feel like it was just about getting the job done, wasn't it? Let's be completely honest about that. 3-2, no injuries. We'd have taken that in a heartbeat. We always look at the clues and the lessons from last time. Long live the king, eh? Liverpool needed Mo Salah. Mo Salah comes to the party. There's been a lot of talk about Mo Salah recently. Quite rightly, there's nothing should distract from his greatness. There's nothing I can really add on him that's not already been said. One of the things I did like, though, is I like that Szoboszlai got on the score sheet, because I wouldn't say he's been the whipping boy recently. I think that's maybe a bit too strong, but he's come under a bit of criticism, and I'm glad. There's quite a few different pieces I've seen, and I've talked about this on various shows. Off the ball, so important. He's very much, I'd say he's system player. He's so important. I think it's fair to say important to the system that Arne Slot wants to operate. Just the off the ball work is absolutely brilliant. It's crucial. Let's not undersell that. On the ball, let's not also pretend it's all bad. That seems to be the sort of premise that I see coming up. It's not always been perfect, and there's probably games where he'd think he could have done better. And it was interesting. He mentioned, like, to last season where we made the declaration about how many games, goals, he wanted to score and all that. He said, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to focus game by game. Maybe that might benefit him, but it would be good if he could put a real, I think it's fair to say a run of games, run of form together, even if he's coming on tomorrow night, which I think he could be. I just think it'd be great if he just sort of continues that form. And the final thing I'm going to say, which is a bit weird from the Southampton game, is give them all a break. I see people absolutely hammering Núñez, and he was pretty poor in this, but if you think Arne Slot mentioned South America, yet Núñez started, whereas Maka and Diaz didn't, and he played, most of the game. No, he played all of it, actually, now I was thinking about it, didn't he? Sorry. So, yeah, there was that. Even Virgil and Ibu, God, if any two people deserve a free pass for what they've done recently, they weren't great either, weren't they? There wasn't too many that were convincing, but it's the first game back after an international break. Win and no injuries. That was the remit. Mission accomplished. So let's not be too harsh or hasty or over-analytical of that performance. This team, though, that's Southampton done with. Real Madrid. I mean, Robbo talked about it being a big game and then being a big team, as did Arne Slot. There's a bit of fortune in this. There's a bit of fortune when Vinicius has a knock and doesn't travel. And we don't get into the Ballon debate, but one of the best players in the world. Let's not pretend at all. Tchouameni's out. I know he seems more appreciated on Merseyside than Madrid. Rodrigo's not fit. Now, there's still some unbelievable players we'll get to, but they do have their share of injuries. So I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. And people will look at them and say, oh, they struggled. Look, they got battered by Barcelona recently. Just to put Real Madrid in context, they won the other day, kept a clean sheet. They are second in La Liga. They are only 4 points behind Barca. In fact, if they were in the Premier League, and I know they've played a few more, they would be in second place. So let's not pretend it's all a crisis at Real Madrid. I think the one thing that will be interesting, and we can't get carried away with this. Yes, Vinicius had 12 goals and he's their top scorer. You'll also look and think, oh, there's others. Bellingham isn't scoring as many this season. He's only got a couple. But just to be really clear, Kylian Mbappe's still there, who's got, despite all the comments, 9 goals this season. He will be a threat. And Conor Bradley, if he does start, interesting to see if he goes for Joe Gomez. But if it is Conor Bradley, he will need support and help down that side. Valverde's still there. He's got 4. It's funny, isn't it, the way all the talk about Madrid. And I don't know if anyone clocked it this week. They've been linked with Martin Zubimendi, a familiar name, no doubt, as well. It will be interesting to see what they do. But for this game specifically, let's not pretend for 1 second we're not playing European royalty. Let's not pretend for 1 second they can't just turn it on instantly. Let's not pretend for 1 second that we haven't seen that. As Slot mentioned, you look at all the recent encounters. Probably talk about threats, I usually call out a player. Do you know what the biggest annoyance for me is? Courtois back. Did anyone clock that? Thibaut Courtois, only came back the last game. And the reason I say that is, you think of that Champions League final, he loves this competition and he loves just annoying us, doesn't he? Let's be completely honest. So they have threats across the board still. Yes, there's a few injuries, which are not a bad thing for us, especially in terms of, I don't know if you pick Vinicius Jr. to be the player, but he'd be one of them for many people. So, yeah, some good news, but this is European royalty and they bring threats. So the final part, ladies and gents, which we always come to, the lineup, the score and the scorers. Now, this is tough a little bit because of who's back. And for me, this is what I would do personally. Kelleher in net, Bradley at right back. I know some people will be thinking Joe Gomez, but City's more important than Real Madrid in the context of our season. That's just a fact for me. I don't think that's difficult to decipher. Also, with the injury to Costas, Joe Gomez might be needed on that left-hand side as well. So it just makes sense to start Bradley. It's Virgil and Ibu in the middle. And it's Robbo at left back. I know I'm almost jumping the gun, but I suspect there'll be a pre-planned sub, with Robbo coming off, maybe on the hour, something like that, and Joe Gomez coming on. Could be wrong on that, but that is just what I'm going for. In the middle, McAllister was rested, so he's going to come straight back in. Ryan Gravenberch plays every single game in the League and Premier League. He gets his rest in the Carabao Cup, apparently. So that's going to be the 2 there. The 10 tomorrow night. I could be wrong on this, and there's a bit of me thinks it would be fair if I was wrong on this. I think Curtis Jones is going to be the other midfielder. He came off, and he wasn't having a great game, but he's been in good form recently, it's important to say. But he did come off against Southampton. Szoboszlai carried on, so I just think that was an indicator to me it might be Jones. And also, He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant against Leverkusen in the Champions League. So I think that may just go in his favour. And I understand if some Szoboszlai fans are thinking, that's harsh. I get it, but they can't all play at the same time. And feel free to drop a comment there on YouTube if you disagree with me, think it anything different. But that is the midfield, which then brings us to the forward line. I think we're going to see Diaz as the false nine again. I really do. I think it may be surprised Arne Slot how well that worked. And obviously, Luis Diaz got a hat-trick against Leverkusen. I know it's a different game, and he talked about how he wanted someone to sort of disrupt the Leverkusen defenders who like to really push up man for man, but I could see that. I really think it'll be Gakpo on the left, Diaz in the middle, Salah on the right, just because of A, how well it worked, and B, Darwin Núñez looked really tired the other day, didn't he? He's just come back from South America, which he had to start where Diaz and McAllister didn't. So I don't think it does any harm for it to be Luis Diaz there. And Diaz was on the bench, wasn't he? Gakpo started. So that is what I expect. And again, a pre-planned substitution. I expect Núñez to come on, and then probably Gakpo to withdraw. Diaz moved to the left. I think Szoboszlai will come on at some point. It wouldn't even surprise me just because of the games coming up. Endo got some minutes as well. Joe Gomez. So there you go. Giving you my lineup. I've given you my 5 subs that I suspect. Obviously, touch wood, praying that there's no injuries in that mix at all. Which only then leaves the score and scorers, doesn't it, people? I am going to go for Liverpool to win 2-1, Mo Salah to be on the score sheet. That is my prediction. A 2-1 Liverpool win, Mo Salah on the score sheet. That is exactly what I think will happen. Will it prove right? Will it prove wrong? Who knows? I suppose in a strange way, the ultimate hope for this, and I know people want to beat Real Madrid, but there's a mix of others saying, I'm not really fussed. I'm looking ahead to Sunday. This is still European royalty. This is still a massive game. However, with Sunday in mind, no injuries. That is really important. If there's any doubt over Trent, do not risk him for a single minute. We will have to see. But there we go, ladies and gents. I've said it a couple of times now. If you get the time, definitely watch this press conference. You'll see clips from it. Arne Slot and Robbo were on brilliant form. They answered everything so well. There's definitely some quotes there for you to take. I've tried to do them justice for you. Have I done that? That is up to you. But it's up to you how you're feeling about the game tomorrow night as well. So there we go. On Tuesday, the 26th of November, just over 24 hours out from Real Madrid. That was another post-conference presser for Anfield Index.